You know I'm a hustler, hustler. You know I'm a hustler, hustler.
Hey, back again with another special episode. Today I have my good friend, my buddy, my brothers, uh, my coach, my advisor. He's a lot of things, but which we're going to talk about here today. Welcome to the show, the one and only Brian Diamonds.
What's up, man? I'm excited. This is a long time coming. I've been waiting for this. We were
Have you?
talking about this back in 2021.
I
Here we
know,
are,
man.
right?
Uh, Be like, what would have happened if we get two chair and a table and just fucking talk shit?
That's right. 2 years ago, right? Would have been on
Right.
episode 3500 by now, right?
Right. So Brian, give me a minute or two overview of who you are, what you do, so the audience can get a little bit more context of our
Yeah. So I'm
conversation.
the CEO and founder of the Contractor Life Academy. At one point previously, I have been in the home improvement industry for over 20 years. My folks growing up both had home improvement companies on and off, somewhat successful, somewhat not. So I got an intro to the industry early. Ended up working for some larger multi-state national companies, and then started my own in 2014. Turned that into an exteriors company, opened up a bath conversion company, sold one of them, and now strictly focus on just helping contractors do the thing.
So how did you get into working with a company like that? Was it your choice or was it somebody else's choice?
You're talking about the larger home improvement company?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I was actually consulting for smaller home improvement companies regionally, helping them with marketing, sending up canvassing, call centers, flyer crews, etc. And I heard that there was a large company moving into town, and a guy that I was working with decided that he was actually going to shut his company down and go work for them. And that was a guy that was a potential client. So I went with him just to check him out. And as I started talking with them, I looked at really a consulting opportunity. How can I help these guys get a foothold in the market? And they said, you know what? Why don't you come sell with us for a little bit and check that out and see what our company is about and get a better understanding, and then we can talk. And at the time, I was kind of over the consulting thing. Again, it's just a lot of client acquisition and trying to work with smaller companies. That's always challenging, and it was something new for me anyway. So I went into the sales side of it, and that turned into me working for them for 8 years. So literally just walked in, got a sales job, and went from there.
Well, let's this is a nice segue into so ho- correct me if I'm wrong. You already had somewhat of a a skill set before you go into this company, and you started as a sales guy, and then just become uh, a sales manager or a VP of sales, or what?
Yeah. So I came in, I'd been working with the smaller companies, so I understood kind of the microcosm of how all the different parts and components of the business worked. So actually the sales part of it was kind of interesting to me because at that point I knew all I had to do was just show up, sell the job, and earn my commission. So it was almost a little bit of a break, really, in what I was previously doing. So coming in, one thing that if people haven't worked with a big national company, and maybe you have some, they're in your particular market, if you're watching this, they have a very dedicated sales system. It's very streamlined. There's a process. They know how to scale that process across multiple sales reps. So when I came in, they had a really good training program and got me stood up pretty quick. And we were just a small office. It was a new market for that company. And I was one of the first guys that was operating in that office on the sales side of it. I think we started off with about 4 guys ultimately. Eventually, I became a sales manager here locally, and then they tasked me with opening up other markets. And at one point had close to 40 sales guys that I was overseeing, using a very similar process. We kind of morphed it up a little bit to work for our market, but yeah, That was kind of the journey. Learn their process and then changed it up a little bit and scaled and grew up their Midwest division basically. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I hear repeatedly uh, the big player always have a process, and in our industry where client acquisition is a big, it's basically whole business,
Yeah. Oh, for
right?
sure.
Right. So how has learning in that environment help you in what you do today?
You know, I going into that larger organization, they had some amazing leaders, man. They had some really, really strong leadership. And that was something that I really worked hard to replicate in my own organization. And one thing that I found, you can have all the processes in the world, but if you don't have a strong culture and you don't have core values that everybody is aware of and those core values are being lived out, you don't have a strong leader in the individual departments and just as a company in general, you can have all the processes, but you have to have people to execute them. The one thing that the larger national companies had, I worked for two of them, one American Exteriors and then Champion Windows as well. One of the things that they had was they understood the importance of everybody being on the same page and
Mm,
everybody operating consistently under one guideline,
mm,
because then you can start to vet out and understand the people component. Who are the real kind of players in your organization? You know what I mean? Because if you don't have any processes, you don't know how to gauge anybody's output. You don't know how to gauge whether they're on the ball or off. You have no idea. But if you can get everybody operating under the same construct, those people that don't belong there, they are exposed very quickly. And that's one thing I found out about kind of that system process component of the bigger companies for sure.
so you went from working on that company, now you helping contractor. You one of the nicest guy I ever met, like one of the brightest, smartest guys too. And I mean, I got a big ego, right? So but I've been humble many times by Brian Diamonds. Uh things that,
I don't know about that. You're talking trash now is what you're doing.
uh but uh but basically, why help contractor, man? Why help a little guy? There's a big market out there for with your expertise. I'm gonna shoot the audience straight. With his expertise, you can go into a $50 million organization and scale them up to 100. Take a couple mil and dip.
Yeah.
Why don't you do that? Why us, little guy?
I was at an event, um I think it was late last year in Las Vegas, and I had ran into a guy that I haven't seen in probably 4 years maybe. And so to him, the Contractor Life Academy is a new thing. And so we had a chance to chop it up a little bit. And when I ran into him, I think his company was doing about 15 million, maybe more, maybe 18. Just really solid net profit. And his company today is probably closer to 100. And so we just talked about that growth trajectory, right? What he's been doing, and it was a really cool story. And he stopped and I told him what I was doing. And the whole time he was kind of giving me this look, right? He kind of cocked his head and he was looking at me. And he said, bro, what the hell are you doing? And I said, what do you mean? He says, you're an idiot. What are you doing? And I said, I don't get it. What are you talking about? He said, why are you spending your time jacking around helping these guys grow their individual? You could have $100 million company. Like, I don't understand it. It just makes no sense to me. And I said, I get it, man. And I've thought about, believe me, like trust. Like, I've thought about that a lot. And I said, there's two things. Number one is there's going to be a time where I'm not here anymore. And there's going to be a bunch of people, hopefully, that are going to hear that I'm not around. And my fear is that when it comes time for my family to come have a seat for this wake or whatever it is, this service, The biggest fear that I have is that I would be hovering above that service and there's nobody in the seats. Like I didn't have an impact on anybody. I totally wasted my entire time here. Like that'd be such a travesty, bro. Like that would be the biggest failure. You know, when we talk about regret, like people, what regret would you? That would be one of my biggest regrets. I didn't make use of my time. And so I think about like what do I have to contribute though? Like really, what is that? Like if you think of like if you just sat for a second and just hit pause and go, what do I have? What do I really have to contribute? And you know that'll really put you in a different kind of mindset. And one is like I know I'm really good at this, right? At helping people turn their businesses into something that can create a great lifestyle while they are here, and then also legacy for their families when they're not. And so why wouldn't I do that at a great scale for myself? The reason number one is we don't really desire for much. And I think that's because our joy isn't built around things. You know what I mean? You've given me crap for a long time, bro. You know, you need to ball out a little bit, man. You need to floss a little bit. You need to show up a little bit, right? You do all the time, bro. And but that's just not me, you know. And so I don't need $100 million or a $10 million a year outside of the fact you could just do a lot of cool stuff and help a lot of people, right? I mean, there's always that upside. The other side of it is there's and so I told him, I said, what's cool, man, is that you can you're going to be able to stand at the top of the mountain, man, and fly that flag, right? I built $100 million company out of it, and there's a lot of guys that you and I both know that have done the same thing. But man, wouldn't it be so much cooler, man, to stop at the top, be at the top with a whole bunch of people, bro? Like, even if maybe like you're at the top and we're at that next little mountain down, and we're like, yo, like you're gonna be up top waving your flag and we'll celebrate you, but man, there's gonna be a whole lot of people celebrating at the top of the hill I'm on.
That's
And
facts.
I think that's so much better, man. Like I would love that more than anything. I read a book one time and I think I wish I had it laying around. But it was written by a guy that had, you know, 9-figure wealth. Man, this guy was really doing well. And he was writing a book about his journey. And the book was really good. And I got all the way to the end of the book. This is literally the last page. Like, we're like, how is this dude gonna wrap this book up? And it was something like I'm sitting here at the top of this mountain on an island that I own, drinking one of the finest bottles of wine, smoking one of the rarest cigars on the planet, looking at a view that, you know, no other eyes get a chance to see but my own. And he goes, and I'm sad and I'm lonely. And I think about all the people that I had to step on along the way, all the relationships that were broken, all the businesses that I had to acquire and fold up and send everybody home packing so that I could sit here by myself, enjoying all of these joys and wonders of the world, but nobody to share it with. And so he says, even though, as you've been reading this book, I may be the richest man that you may have encountered or you may have the pleasure of hearing from, um, you're most likely much wealthier than I am. That was the end of the book, bro. That was it. And like,
Bars.
man, I read that book probably 20 years ago, and it still sticks with me. And I just don't want that to be me. And so I have a heart, man, that I don't think that people know what's possible. Like they're sitting on a business right now, and I don't think that they understand that they're making $80,000 a year. They're working 40 hours a week. They're on the tools. They're working 60 hours a week and maybe making a buck 20. They think they've got a business going on, and what they did is created a job that has some flexibility and maybe a little better pay. But what I don't know that they get is that they can build a company that can give them a lifestyle that they never probably dreamed of, and they can create legacy wealth so their kids will never have to worry about, or they as the owner will never have to worry about what happens with their family when they're not here anymore. And it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be $100 million company. And so if I can help guys get over that hump and come to that realization and be a part of that journey, bro, I'm the wealthiest guy on the planet, man. I'll tell you that.
Wow, man, that's a great mission
I
because
think so.
like I say, money at a certain point in time, man. Like even with
Don't get me wrong,
inflation,
bro. Like I like some cash. Like
e- even with
you and
even
I
with
have been together. We've burned through some cash. You know what I mean? We've had a good time.
yeah, but after a certain point in time, like at 500 500,000 a year, what else you gonna do? Now you got a new
Mm.
problem, right? How can I hide this money from the the
Right.
the 3-digit organization that we all know and love, so
Man. Bro, we've
the
had a lot and we've had a little, and no matter what, we figure out a way for it to, you know what I mean? It
yeah,
goes somewhere,
yep,
you
yep.
know?
So I have made $5, what, 6.25 an hour before, and I have made $600 an hour before.
Mm.
Nothing changed. You still same motherfucker with the same bullshit, right?
That's that.
Um, so that's a great mission, man, because I think construction business owner or small business owner are sitting on the gold mine
Oh, for sure. 100%.
that that uh that they don't think that it's possible. But I mean, I'm not from construction. I came in and I see money everywhere.
Mm. That's one thing. If when I looked back on like previous messages from you and I in the early days when we first started talking and hanging out, there was a a tipping point, right? There was a point where you were like, yo, like this, wait a minute, I get the game now. Like I get it. And it is wide open. There ain't no competition around here. There is ample opportunity to win. Like I just got goosebumps, bro, talking about it.
Right,
I remember
right.
those messages that you and I were sharing back and forth, and it was interesting to see from like 2020 to 2021. There's a vibe that changed, and it was just like you were on fire, man. Just you're after it, and that's all we need, right? I was talking to guys that do roll ups and acquisitions, and consistently, no matter how many I talk to, they always come back to the owner, right? The separator, the differentiator between all these guys got processes and all these guys got good leadership and all these guys got is that if that owner, man, has a fire underneath him that he can transfer down to the rest of the team, it's game over, man. Game over. And you've had that consistently for sure.
Yeah, so that's so interesting to see it from another perspective, because a lot of people that I've spoken to fall into two camp, right? Either they see what come to me at natural, because I'm like, I just do it every day. I don't even know that I'm doing it. But the other camp is like, what secret you got?
Right.
What's the sauce, bro?
What's the sauce,
What's
man?
the sauce? The sauce. Well, let's see. Let's count back to, well, I was raised in a good family. And I was raised in Vietnamese communist regime. So it kind of affect me a little bit, right?
Mm.
And I don't know, I just have good genes. And then good people want to come work for me and help me out. I don't know what to tell you. Look around me.
Yeah, I think the chain a component of that is a gatherer of people,
Yeah,
right? That's
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think someone has to have an ability. There's a time when I had a guy on my team, and his responsibility was building out canvassing teams. And within his department, that guy could acquire people quickly. He could bring them on, and he could get them folded into the group like nobody I've ever seen. Sometimes when you're coming into a new organization, you're kind of an outsider a little bit. You're trying to find your people and trying to find your spot. But he was really good, man, at doing that. And so I asked him about that one time, and he said, well, every team needs different types of people. You need the cheerleader, somebody who's going to continue to like cheer everybody on, right? And just encourage them. And then you need a counselor that when you see somebody that's going through something, you can pull them aside and have a conversation. And then you need kind of that accountability dude. You need the guy that's going to be like, hey, get your crap together, man up and let's make this happen. Kind of like sergeant in arms in a way, right? And he just talked to me about all these different components of a team that you need to have. And I definitely think there's a component of having somebody on your team that is the one that brings everybody together under kind of this unified mission, right? And does so in a way that everybody's excited to come to work every day because they want to be supportive, they want to be part of that team and part of that mission. Um, and I think, watching you, that's one of the things you've always been good at. Right? That's kind of a natural thing that you do. Anytime I've come over, it's community. Got your homies, got your people. And when somebody can hack that, it doesn't matter how much of a crap show you got going on as a company. If you've got people that are willing to back you up and just want to be part of that crew, they'll go through anything with you. Like they'll make the company work. It's going to work out. But if you don't have that, it doesn't matter how good your systems and processes are and how much you're paying them and how much they desire. People, man, they'll jump off that boat faster than than anything. So that's a big piece. I think you've got that part figured out for sure.
Yeah, so it's you would say relationship building is one of the master skill, right? Because
Mhm.
if you can build relationship, and this is how I think of it. If you can build relationship, you can get other people to do shit for you.
Mhm.
That's in the simplest term, but like if you want to put it in the fancy ways, if you can build a relationship, you can transfer that vision, transfer that mission, transfer that conviction, and delegate stuff more efficiently because now people are more bought into who you are as a person. And what that's one of my biggest realization a few years back is I need more people. I just can't do this by myself. And I need more people. I need people that love what I hate doing. And and throughout my and I believe that I can find people that align with my core value. And so that's what I did, man. I just, go out and find people. And and people ask me what the secret is. There's really no secret. You do it, you fail, you do it again, fail, you do it again, and you do it until, oh God, where you been?
Yeah.
Where you been? And then, you keep going because the thing is, what I've seen a lot in the construction industry, especially young construction industry, is they don't analyze a mistake or not even a
Mhm.
mistake. Just it's just bullshit that happened in the construction industry. It's just people and process, right? It's always revolved around people and process. And I want y'all to realize no matter what level you at, you always have problem with people. You always have problem with process. It's
Mhm.
it's it's the business, right? So it's almost like it's the mindset shift that need to happen is like realizing that you're gonna get punched and keep going.
There's a one-on-one call I had with a guy. He was meeting with one of our coaches on Friday in their mastermind, and then on the off weeks we do one-on-ones. And he hit me up and he's like, "Bro, he's like, I got a situation, man. I really need to talk to you. I know it's an off week, but I like, can I get on a call?" So I was like, "Yeah, man, just tomorrow morning, let's do it." So we got on a call and he was laying out not only this kind of big challenge that he had, but all these little things that were happening. Well, and then this happened, and then this happened, and this was going on, and then we got this thing over here. And he got done, and I said, "Is that pretty much, is that everything?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Bro, you're crushing it." I'm like, "You're crushing it. Oh, that's amazing. You're doing great, man." And he's like, what are you talking about? Did you just hear anything I said?" And I said, "Yeah, I heard all of it." And just the fact that one, you're able to articulate it. Two, you know what the problems are. You've talked about some solutions that you tried that necessarily didn't work out. That is a totally different conversation than you and I would have had this time last year, right? Just the fact that you're sitting down and then trying to analyze kind of what's going on and then coming up with solutions is phenomenal. And number two, bro, this is what you signed up for. Like, this is just the natural progression of growth. Anything you talked about was going to happen at some point. It is a non-negotiable. You are going to go through every single one of those things you talked about. The problem is you've got this big thing that got you fired up, and then you started noticing. You ever go to a homeowner and there's one little thing, man, just one little piece of that job that didn't go right, and they nitpick the entire freaking thing, and now all of a sudden they ain't giving you the last check, and it's a big crap show, and they're calling the inspector and calling the BBB, and it was literally like a nail, or you know what I mean, some little stupid thing. That's the same thing we do as contractors. We either one degree or the other. Either we don't pay attention to anything that's going on, and it's a complete crap show, or everything's a disaster. But it's not. It's just the natural progression of figuring it out. And so I told him, I'm like, bro, you're crushing. You know what this means? You're going in the right direction, and you're growing, and you're getting better, and you're pressing into your team, and you're pressing against certain processes you had that were good then, but they're not serving you now. So keep at it, man. Problem solution. Just knock them down one at a time. And I think what happens is we have these big piles of crap, and that smelly, stinky, we want to get rid of it. And so we laser focus on it, and we just start shoveling until it disappears. And I'm like, bro, the reality is, this is kind of how I described it to him. You've taken all these things and you've piled up into one big lump, and now everything's a mess. Right? I'm like, one shovel at a time, homie. Just take one shovel at a time. And pretty soon you're going to turn around and all of it's going to be fixed, and it's going to be cleaned up, and it's going to be roses and potpourri, and you're going to be fine. And he's like, yeah, you're right. And that was it. We didn't have to really dig into all these constructs of solutions and things. But I do think you have to have an element of analysis. You do have to take the time to say, what was that? Why did that happen? Is there something we really need to be paying attention to, or was it like a one-off? If it's a one-off, keep moving. But if it's a theme, go fix it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't say that that I like solving problem, but I know it's gonna come. I'm
Yeah.
prepared for it. And I think it's when you're unprepared, is something gonna hit you out the left field, then it's like, oh my God, you know.
You're
But
going to get rocked. That's for sure.
but when I mean, it happened to me a few times, like workman comp audit twice, 2 times in a year, because they say our growth is never seen before. So they try to get a little bit of cheese, and there
Yeah,
was a
trying to get it
little,
up front, right? Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, nah, man, like talk to my lawyer. I don't think what you guys doing is fair. But like, if I'm not prepared to do that, and that is the shit that's gonna happen. Like, it's not
Mhm.
like the bigger you go, the problem is gonna be bigger, bigger magnitude,
I think
bigger,
the impact's smaller, though. You know
huh?
what I mean?
The impact, it might be smaller, but the problem is still gonna be there for you,
Mhm.
but once you get bigger, there's other people out there to solve the problem for you, I feel like.
I think that's it, right? One of the
Yeah.
things when you talk about that work comp audit, I mean, we've had the same thing. I've had $250,000 tax bills show up out of the blue. What are we gonna do with this thing? And so it's the ability to not lose your crap because you're in a position to be able to absorb that. Big wave comes, it ain't gonna tip the ship. So, when that shows up, it's like, okay, yeah, I've heard guys getting their bank accounts drained off of work comp audits. Yeah, I mean, it's all kinds of stuff, bro. But it's like, all right, well, that's fine. You know what I mean? I'm going to navigate that, and I'll come out the other side of it. And we have the cash, we have some in reserve. We're in a position that when the storm comes, it's not as devastating. And I think that's the important thing, is to put your company in a position, put your people in a position to be able to weather that stuff. That's why I always like, me, man. I've always been a process guy from day one. You're telling me to floss, I'm telling you to build out SOPs. And that's because when the hurricane comes, like, you already got the plan, not a big deal. And you look across the street, your neighbor's running around, trying to run around with that big piece of plywood and get blown off his feet. Like, we ain't got to deal with that crap. So that's why I like kind of a process driven infrastructure,
You know, well, who you remind me of? Like,
Who's that?
have you ever read Noah Ark? You building an ark,
Oh, bro.
an ark. So then when the storm come, shit,
Yeah.
be like, God damn, I got all my animals in here. I got all my SOP in here.
This dude, man, I wish God would just send me a little message. Yeah, exactly. If he could just tell me when the storm's coming and I could build my little ark ahead of time and get all my little people and all my food. Yeah, that'd be amazing. That'd be great. Right.
Uh, but so one, I'm in a lot of mastermind, talk to a lot of contractors, and one of the thing that the little guy under 5 million struggle with is sales, sales.
That's a fact.
I'm not getting enough leads. I'm not getting enough. I can't sell for my price, too expensive. What are the funny stuff that people say? Um, oh, well, my competitor are own charging this price. How can I charge more? Another one. I don't really have a sale process. They call me, I give them a price over the phone. If they don't like it, I move on.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started on stuff like that.
And then the
Uh,
inability to generate a lead on their own, and the inability to convert all the lead that they already getting. So what do you think is the solution to that, and how would one even start?
yeah. So when I think about taking, one of the things we do is when guys come into the Contractor Life Academy is we create this path for them. So, where do you want to be at the end of 2024? Let's talk about a path to get there. And no matter what, especially early stage, there's always the things you do. You look at their financials, you build some foundational stuff into their business that they're missing to be able to accommodate the growth that's coming. And so that's kind of how you start in the beginning. And, we had a pretty straightforward process on that. And eventually what happens is you say, okay, like, these guys are bolstered up enough that now we can start talking about sales and marketing because they've got the infrastructure to be able to handle now the growth piece. I'm almost to the point, man, where I think that really needs to be flipped on its head. And if I had a choice, I would get the first thing they would do is go to sales training or get some type of sales system in place. And the next thing they would do is that we'd get their money straight and get them pushing marketing in whatever capacity that is, either paid marketing, nebulous marketing, something, so that it just becomes a cash game. What can we do in this first 90 days to get you in a position to generate as much cash as you can generate consistently with what you've got? And the reason is because, number one, when we're selling or our company is a certain size, mostly it's referrals and repeats. And so we're relying on the customer to bless us, and bless us either with calling us when there's more work, or bless us with getting our name in a conversation when one comes up. The problem with that is the way that we got these early customers is that we gave them a deal. Our prices were either low because we're the labor, so we don't have to charge a whole lot. We don't have a lot of overhead, so it's not like we got to charge a 50% GP. We give our friends and family a break so that we can get a couple jobs to get some reviews and some photos. And what I found out was, broke clients and cheap prices give you broke client referrals that you got to charge cheap prices. So if you can get your sales process locked down, what that means is now you can start selling at a higher margin. And that higher margin is going to give you that extra cash that you can start Remember when you and I first talked, right? Charging labor and stuff like that. And then it's like, well, there's marketing dollars, right? We need marketing dollars, bro. And you know what you did? You came back and you're like, bro, I got $1,000. And I'm like, where did you get that? I just talked to you like 2 days ago. And you're like, I just added it to an invoice. What I mean? So what you did is you said, I need to go create more money from these jobs that I'm doing so that I have the opportunity to put it into the business to get more jobs and parlay. And you parlayed the crap out of it. Right. But you had this also natural ability to go out and do what? Build community and make connection. So you already had that game coming in. And there's a lot of contractors that don't. They're trades guys and they don't have that background like you or I did. And if you look at it, man, look at most of the successful companies out there. If you could just stack everybody up together and just say, hey, raise your hand or hit the button or the poll if you're a sales and marketing background, I would be interested to see how many more successful, high value, cash flow companies are coming out of guys with sales and marketing backgrounds. I bet you would be surprising. But if we get these trades guys in, I would get them right into sales training right off the rip, because now for the few leads you are getting, you're capitalizing on more than you have in the past. And when you are capitalizing on them, you're getting better margins than you have ever. And that money starts showing up. And now we can use that to hire a PM, to hire a laborer, to hire a sales guy, to push more money into marketing, to hire an admin, whatever. But then, of course, there's the question of, where do you get the funds to get into that sales training? Right. That's always a sticking point as well. So there's things you can do early on, of course, without having to go into a full-fledged, learn how to have a sales process to get that cooking. For sure.
Yeah, man. I even before my time with the construction industry, I was always the guy that I was the lead guy.
Mhm.
I was prospecting, and if you're in the casino, you already hooked. I don't, I just need to take down your name, your phone number, and have a conversation with you. That's how easy it was
But
for
see, you
me.
understood the lead game at scale,
Right.
right? You told me about this difference between looking at that database and looking at the clientele in the database, and where people kind of try to cut the cream off the top. And that's not the game, right? The game is mass acquisition, and how do you convert a majority of people for whatever type of spend and then continue to do it in perpetuity, right?
Yeah, it's called player development, right? So
Mhm.
so it's you grow people. So I think about it in the construction industry, it's still a lead game to a certain extent, but you're growing your sales guy, because your sales guy or your sales department, or me running 6 appointments a day stupidly for a year, is your sales department. Whatever that is, there's got to be somebody, or got to be out there every single day picking up revenue up the tree for you.
Mhm. Let's
That's
talk about the prospecting side of it, right? So you knew that if you got into that, there's two facets to that. Number one, it's work the database,
mm,
right? So all
mm,
of us at some level have done client acquisition and lead generating, whether it's repeats and referrals, whatever. But we have, whether it's in a notebook somewhere or in our email or whatever, we have a list of people that we've given bids to, or at least had a conversation with. So one of the first things that guys do, they'll call me and they'll say, man, I'm in a desperate situation. I got no money for leads. My pipeline's drying up. I got no cash coming in. I'm on the, tipping point of whether I'm going to keep this thing going or not. My first advice is go into your database and start rehashing and retargeting. And that's why I created a script that we put in that inner circle on the Contractor Life Academy under the files, so that everybody can go in there and they can grab that script and start rehashing different pillars. One pillar is people you've already done work for.
oh,
Hey, the season's getting ready to kick off. We're getting our production calendar lined up. We've got a majority of our year already planned out. Is there another project that you guys might be considering that we need to get you some information on and help you get completed? There's one funnel right there. The next funnel is the people that you've given a proposal to that have told you no, that you can go back and say, hey, this is Brian checking in. We had given you a proposal for this project back in November of last year. Were you able to get that project completed? If people say yes,
Mhm.
perfect. Glad that you were able to find somebody to help you with that. What other projects do you have coming up that we might be able to get you a competitive bid or some other information on? The other one, if they say no, or yes, no, we didn't get the project completed. Perfect. We're getting our schedule lined up for this year. I think we might have an opportunity to help the overall investment on that project because we've got a clean marketing budget. We might be able to help you out a little bit. Would you be interested in having a conversation? The other pillar is going to be people that ghosted you just flat out. There's some of those as well. So, you can target that as well and send a message out and just say, hey, we happen to give you a proposal back in this. We didn't hear anything back. Just checking in to make sure you got that project completed. If not, we'd love to talk about how we can get you into our calendar for this year. I guarantee you, I have never not had somebody go through that process if they just stayed with it consistently that didn't stand up 5-figure projects in the next month. It's never not happened. So, it's just a matter of being consistent with it and being dedicated to it. And what I tell people is when I call them back in a week or I talk to them again in 2 weeks, and I ask them, did you actually do this? Did you follow through with it? And then you've heard it too. Well,
Well,
I mean,
I mean, like they
boop.
didn't really like me, you know.
But here's the thing. What I tell them is if you're not willing to do at least that, then you don't care enough, bro. Go get a job.
Facts.
You don't care enough.
That's facts. That's
Go get a
facts.
job.
That's
Because if
facts.
you can't simply just do that of people you've already established a conversation with that already believed enough in your brand and who you were that they were interested in at least exploring an opportunity with you to be partners and getting their problem solved, and you're not willing to at least try to revive that simple conversation, then I know you're not going to go knock doors, homie. I know you're not going to get into the phone book and you're going to call for, dial for dollars. I know you ain't going to grind hard. So now what? But those are some simple things you can do. I started my company knocking doors. I knocked a door, bink, bink, introduced myself, and by the end of that day, I'd knocked myself into an appointment and had, gosh, I don't know, $20,000 sale. And then the first thing I did as soon as I got that check and I cashed it, that deposit, is I hired a door knocker. And then I hired somebody to take the leads, and then I hired somebody to manage the projects, and I kept going. And in that first 3 months, I wasn't even running appointments anymore by the end of that. But the idea is that we had generated $10 million in sales from door knocking, shows and events, and having a call center before I spent my first $2,000 a month on anything internet based, maybe.
Take
So
up
that's all just straight hustle, homie. That's
yeah.
knocking on doors, making phone calls, and showing up at home shows.
I mean, those are I think that if you're struggling with lead, that is the least you can do. Like you got at least go do that. Right.
Mhm.
But if you flood with lead, whatever, you should still have some automation that build out on the back end that does
If you
that.
don't, then what you do is you put all of your chips uh on the table with one. It's why some guys play multiple hands, playing blackjack. They're just getting ripped on the single hand and they flip it to a double hand just to turn the cards over. Just to put something else out there that's going to be able to buffer kind of this tough spot that they're in.
Yeah.
The other one is that some people have to realize, and I think we forget, agencies are full of people as well.
It's
So like my
bullshit.
dad used to say when he was in the business, he'd say, man, I love the home improvement business if there wasn't so many people involved. Right. Because that's what the challenge comes from. You said that earlier in the conversation. So we bolt onto these agencies that are helping us with our marketing and they do well and not so well. But remember, they're owners too. They're people too. They're trying to grow and scale their business. They're working through personnel challenges. They've got their own crap, and all of a sudden, at some level, it may impact us.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that. If I have a good relationship, you talked about it earlier. If I have a good relational equity with that agency, I'm willing to stick it out and tough it out with them. However, I also need to make sure I've got something off to the side that's putting me in a position that not all my chips are
Mm.
all out on one hand.
Woo.
You know?
Ooh. Whew. That says if that is not a training in business continuity, I don't know what is.
You know I'm a hustler, hustler. You know I'm a hustler, hustler.